Verse 848. I observe with a divine eye, which is of transcendental wisdom, and is removed from the flesh. With this I observe sentient beings, the physical bodies of all living creatures, as devoid of the Samskara and Skandhas. This verse is somewhat reminiscent of the initial verse which began this series of videos, but I'll leave it up to you to go back and look at it if you want. In the first part of the verse we've got this word divine, as in divine eye. And this word divine might be worth addressing. There is actually something called the divine eye which is associated with certain powers, but here it's to do with the eye of transcendental wisdom. If you're a Westerner who's into Buddhism, you might have a little bit of trouble with this word divine, because we like to think that Buddhism's got nothing to do with God, nothing to do with gods. But actually, Buddhism has got no problem with the gods. It's got no problem with supernatural entities. It's just that what Buddhism teaches is actually beyond all that. It's beyond the gods. It's beyond God. It's got nothing to do with gods. It's got nothing to do with God. The Buddha knows a place untouched by God. So this word divine eye, which is of transcendental wisdom and is removed from the flesh. Now, the flesh here isn't just the body, because the body affects the mind. So the flesh here includes body and mind, because body and mind are the supports for our sensibilities, for our moods, for all our feelings, for all our suffering. So the Buddha is looking independently of his own sensibilities, his own moods. And this is what, as enlightenment practitioners, we ourselves succeed in doing at times. As enlightenment practitioners, we actually do succeed in going beyond our sensibilities, going beyond our moods. We enter into transcendental vision. And in this sense, we too can see with the divine eye. So this word divine, it means something other than the world of the mind and the body, something other than the world of our moods and sensibilities. And it's a nice word, divine, isn't it? When we're practicing, when we're realizing, we have to be careful there aren't elements of alienation, elements of resentment. I don't like this world. I don't like all the suffering in it. I have realized something else, which is much better. So we need to be careful that tone is not there. The word divine speaks of something wonderful, something happy, joyous. The word divine is speaking from the rainbow body. There's no resentment here, no alienation, because the divine eye is actually looking out at the world. It embraces the world in its transcendental wisdom. And so what does the Buddha say? What do we observe with this divine eye? We observe the physical bodies of all living creatures as devoid of the Samskara and Skandhas. The Samskaras are our sensibilities, basically. They're our moods. They're what propel us along in our ignorance and ultimate suffering. And the Skandhas, well, I wonder if this term's being a little bit misapplied here, because the Buddha's talking about the physical bodies of all living creatures as devoid of the Skandhas. It's not the body that is made up of the Skandhas, it's the whole psychophysical organism, which we sometimes confuse with an ego, the existence of an ego. So I suppose we have to take the term physical bodies in the broader sense that I mentioned, of not simply the flesh, but the mind that the flesh gives birth to, the psychophysical organism. And the Skandhas is an exercise whereby you're supposed to be able to let go of the notion of an ego identity. There are just these factors in play. So the Buddha is saying, when he looks out, that he sees people, basically. He doesn't see the skandha factors, and he doesn't even see people's moods. So what is the Buddha actually saying here? It comes back to the realization that the world is of the nature of dream. It's a construction of consciousness whose reality, whose apparent reality, consciousness gets lost in. But then it wakes up and it sees the insubstantiality of these people in the dream. They didn't have moods and sensibilities. They didn't have the samskaras. They weren't constructed of the skandhas either. They were dream fragments, like mirages. So this is what we see when we're seeing with the divine eye. We see dream objects. This is how much relevance they have. This is how much relevance they have to the realization of the rainbow body. It's how much relevance they have to the divine eye. Now, it's quite important to appreciate that we're not dismissing others as dream objects, because we too are dream objects. I am a dream object. All my moods and my sensibilities, they're not important. They're part of a dream. And I should regard them as such and not get caught up in the drama that the psychophysical organism gives rise to. The drama of moods and sensibilities. So this is the important thing. We're not concerned with the reality of other people at all. We're concerned with not getting caught up in our own physicality, in our own samskaras. We're not even concerned with seeing ourselves as made up of the skandhas. That's actually the wrong way of using the skandhas. And I've said more about the skandhas in previous videos, about how we can use them. So as a result of this, we can say what verse 850 says. I have the body that goes about in the paths of existence. This does not belong to the realm of the theorisers. It goes beyond the human world and is not the possession of the theorisers. So there are the various paths of existence. The hell realms, the realms of the gods and the titans, that's 3. There's the animal realm, which is 4. The realm of the hungry ghosts, which is 5. And the human realm. But we're not relating to that. We're relating to the rainbow body, the body of enlightenment, when we're practicing successfully. And it is not the possession of the theorisers, in that it's not something to talk about. It's not something we talk about even in terms of how to realise it. We simply realise it and come back to it and abide in it as often as possible, which is abiding in the true appreciation of the awareness which is hearing this. This opens our divine eye